Hi everybody, I'm Dan Illman. Welcome to the DRF Breeding Report. I'm joined this week by Nicole Russo, and we're going to talk about the two major Kentucky Derby prep races from last week. And Nicole, Mineshaft had a big hand in both of those races.
Yeah, Mineshaft, who stands at Lane's Head Farm alongside his Hutchins sire AP Indy, is looking to really be the next strong representative of the AP Indy line. Not only is Mineshaft the sire of J-Boy's Echo, who we'll talk about in a minute, the winner of the Gotham Stakes, Mineshaft's son, Dialed In, who stands at Darby Dan Farm, last year's leading freshman sire, and he was represented by a pair of stakes winners Saturday from his first crop, including Fountain of Youth winner Gunnevera. So just really a huge weekend for that line.
Yeah, Mineshaft brings a ton of stamina into any sort of pedigree, so you always have to consider his progeny, especially this time of year on the three-year-old trail and road to the Kentucky Derby. Mineshaft stands for $25,000 this year at Lane's End. Let's talk about J-Boy's Echo, and we're going to take a look at the Gotham Stakes right now, sort of a coming out party for J-Boy's Echo. He had a beautiful trip. He's on the outside now in the blue cap, and he's on his way to victory. This horse has a really strong combination of that stamina of Mineshaft on top with some speed and class on the bottom of his pedigree.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Mineshaft, really a stamina type of horse, and he's knocked at the door with a couple of good classic type runners in the past. He had Fly Down, who was second in the 2010 Belmont Stakes, beaten less than a length. He had Nero, who was second to Animal Kingdom in the 2011 Kentucky Derby. So Mineshaft's knocking on the door with some of these horses. And J-Boy's Echo, as you mentioned, on the bottom side of his pedigree, a little bit of speed, a little bit of precocity. His Damn Let Go My Echo, winner of the Forward Gal, she's thrown a couple of decent runners under here, including Unbridled Outlaw, who was brave 3 places as a juvenile. So a little bit of that, stamina and kind of older horse form on top for Mineshaft, and the precocity and speed on the bottom.
And J-Boy's Echo starting to live up to that $485,000 Keeneland September yearling price tag. A very impressive winner, a very fast winner on the Beyer speed figure scale. We'll keep an eye out for J-Boy's Echo. Dale Romans, his trainer, does very, very well in races like the Bluegrass. Perhaps that will be his final prep before the Kentucky Derby. Now let's talk about Mineshaft's grandson, Gunnevera, the first millionaire by the young stallion Dialed In.
Yeah, and Gunnevera was one of those runners who helped Dialed In to last year's freshman sire earnings title with that win in the $1 million Delta jackpot. But it would be really unfair to call this horse a one-hit wonder. He's so hard-knocking. Won pair of graded stakes last year as a juvenile. Came back to run second in the Holy Bull before taking the Fountain of Youth last weekend. And as you mentioned, that pushed him over the millionaire mark already. He's going to be coming back for the Florida Derby for his final Derby prep. And just a hard-knocking, tough little sort of racehorse.
I agree. We're going to take a look at the Fountain of Youth right now, and unlike the Holy Bull, his prior start at Gulfstream Park, he got some pace this time around. He's breezing up 3 wide under Javier Castellano. He's going to take the lead, and he's on his way to victory and on his way to the Florida Derby as his final prep before the Kentucky Derby. This horse only sold for $16,000 as a Keeneland September yearling, but Nicole, as you mentioned, he tries hard each and every time.
Yeah, and, looking ahead, he really seems like the sort of horse who might relish a little bit of added distance. If you look at his page, Dialed In himself won the Florida Derby, was, one of those classic trail-type horses for Mineshaft. And then Gunnevera is a half-brother to Minstrel Queen, who did most of her running at a mile and longer in Puerto Rico and was multiple Group 1 placed there. So, some form around 2 turns there on the bottom side of the page as well.
And Gunnevera also gets perhaps a little bit of stamina from the Unbridled blood on the bottom of his pedigree. Kentucky Derby winner Unbridled is his brood mare sire. Next week, 2 more Kentucky Derby preps. The San Felipe out at Santa Anita, the Tampa Bay Derby as well. We'll see you next week on the DRF Breeding Report.